So, hello and welcome everyone. This is going to be the newcomers cast. I have a set of replays given by various players. Sejun and Satrell are the major providers of this batch. So, we'll be starting out with Payday versus Satrell here. So I'll try and alternate between different players rather than... because I know Satrell has given me a whole slew of replays, so I'll try and alternate between Satrell's and Sejun's. As well as, we do have an FFA here, but I have been warned it is very long. But we'll give it a look. If worst comes to worst, we'll just speed it up a bit, but I'll probably be saving that till the end. Now though, let us kick off with Payday vs Satrell, Boneyard, and it's a Sobar mirror. Just to confirm, my lovely assistant, are we live? Running well? Good, 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 good. Excellent.
Smashing.
Indeed, smashing. Smashing. I expect there to be a lot of smashing and a lot of railguns in this fight, so... So, here we are in the south with Satrell in his sky blue and white Sobani carrier, and in the north, being revealed, is Payday in his true Soban colours, red and white. So, Boneyard, very popular map, quite frankly my favourite map. We have a probe immediately coming out here to see what Satrell is up to. Guessing Payday wants to play it a bit safe, make sure he knows what's going on, scout for any AAV rushes. Need to have a Brit off. See who is properly Brit aiming here. Also, how do you pronounce your name? Because the argument is currently between Mayer, which I go with, and Magier. What would you go with? I mean, I realise you pulled it from the lore, but... Back to the game. We have Satrell going for an early expansion. By early, it's quite late, actually. And he's getting a support cruiser first. No. Frankly, with your opening, you would want to get full saturation on that first. Angle your carrier to maximise the early income, and then do the support cruiser. It's just much more efficient. Again, same with you, Payday. You should really see about getting the salvages out there. It's much cheaper investment, and you're going to get income in sooner, which will allow you to get that support cruiser out sooner, as well as supporting other openings. So yeah, me. Well, no, I mean, if you're saying with a hard G...
J.
What am I saying? Yeah, G. J. Yeah. Because then the pronunciation would be as though it's with a G.
LAV construction complete.
Maybe it's more of a French pronunciation.
Well, that's why I go with the Mayer.
Magier.
Possibly.
Machete.
But then it gets a bit too fancy. Mayer just seems to travel off the tongue better.
Fancy if he wants to be fancy.
But, right, we have some light tech craft to try and get rid of this probe from Satrell. Doesn't want to be scouted. And an AAV behind it, which won't have been scouted. So that's actually a nice start for Satrell. He can actually go quite aggressive with this armored assault and catch Payday out. Hopefully he doesn't idle it for too long. He may have missed its actual deployment. Good spread of armed logistics modules from Payday as well. Quite a good fence. But we've got LAVs going up against high ground. Not good. You need to back away from that, otherwise you're going to be losing LAVs quite quickly. Managed to get one, but loses one.
Hostile contact marked.
Not sure, would it be worth going back to get that other one?
LAV destroyed.
No, especially not with more coming in, but...
Enemy target.
yeah, so Trot, this is really what's killing you right now. Bit of F2 to get your entire military out into action is vital. Like, these AAVs are a massive boon, and they're currently idle. Just starting to move out now, but they could have been there for that first fight, giving you a look. You could have actually looked at taking down the fence with that kind of force too, as long as you spread effectively to avoid EMP.
Hostile unit marked.
In the meantime, you're
Hostile threat marked.
liable to lose these LAVs,
Fabrication facilities.
but you will at least stop that base runner, which is good. But again, just these guys being sat back for so long has put you behind where you had previously had an advantage.
Light attack vehicle under fire.
But again, if they're still going to forget them, but yeah, getting in the habit of putting those rallies up straight away and to where, you know, in the direction you're going to need them, because you're less likely to miss that they've been produced that way. A lot of the time you just don't look at the carrier, and it's very easy for units to get lost in amongst the salvagers. In the meantime, these LAVs are going to get cleaned up. Preemptive ALM to cover the next expansion. And we have armored assaults coming from Payday. Do we have any sign of rail tech? We do not. No air tech either. So Satrell really needs to get one of these, and soon, otherwise those AAVs are going to be a very serious threat. In the meantime, same from Payday, no air tech and no rail tech.
Hostile contact on the board.
Also, something worth noting as a benefit to rolling with darker colour schemes like we see from A game, is it actually helps mask those landing pads a fair bit, because otherwise they're in the faction colours, so it's very easy to see that Payday doesn't have air tech, because we can see those red pads. But the moment that tech is done, they change from being red to the same as the runways.
Identified. Sensor post under fire.
I don't see it becoming meta, but just point that out. Man, you asked. It's not really random when you asked me to cast them, is it?
Contact. Enemy armor. Enemy engaging armored unit.
Yeah.
Fire smoke screen. Armor confirms. Move out.
Yeah. Just those three LMs holding there.
Display. Construction units
Bit
depleted.
of AAV.
Enemy forces have acquired an
AV versus AAV fights are really meaningless. Even with no armor upgrades, it's still just a bit of a joke fight. No real damage being done unless someone can get a height bonus.
ready update.
What have we got going on here? Rail tech has come out from both. Basically both pulling the exact same build order.
Railgun assembly.
But Satrell does have the advantage of armor. And I believe that is maxed armor too. Yep, that is level 3 armor. Meanwhile, Payday is running with no armor, so right now if these two forces were to clash, Satrell would win almost hands down.
Facilities now active. Carrier weapon systems online.
Payday would need a substantial amount of time on height bonus to really win that.
Armor ready.
Simply because his rails would go down so quickly with their health pool. So right now I'd say Satrell needs to be getting in Payday's face, but I don't think he's aware of the advantage he has. Can you imagine if those rails were in position either over here or here with this base runner right now? This would be done fight.
Ready move.
But again, a lot of idle, just starting to move out now, but leaving the AVs back. Again, you only need to leave maybe one of those with ALM to fend off any kind of harass at the moment, and you can focus your forces. Here we go, going into high ground. So
Armored vehicle taking
got the high ground bonus, but with that lack of armor, how many are marking? 2 are marking at the moment? Yeah, 2, so 1 too many. We'll see if that really harms the situation. There's too much marking going on. But still winning, just by sheer virtue of how tanky these AAVs have been. And just, yeah, those armor bonuses just making such a difference.
Get us underway. Move order confirmed. On our way.
Also the fact that the AAV's shielded, whereas here they just, yeah, again, just much better positioning. The AAVs, although 3 of them were lost, were up the front tanking damage for the rails and, yeah, just won that. But again, you're just sat back. You have the advantage. You've just dominated that rail blob. You can be moving up, doing some damage, and you're just idle on your back line here. There's absolutely no reason for you to not be getting in his face, having dealt with his rails.
Spectrum analysis has identified an artifact. Engaging armored unit.
Probably a good... Actually, I can change it now. Like, there's nothing stopping me from doing it. I've got access to the tools without actually stopping the stream.
Enemy contact on sensors. New heading set. Hostile
Doop, doop,
contact on
doo,
the board.
doo.
Enemy on sensors. Be advised. Hostile forces have drawn
So,
an artifact. New heading set.
again, there's no reason for Citrell to fear AAVs with his rails. They've got so much armor that AAVs are ineffective. Now, these are a bit of a problem, and this is a bit of a problem, but he's got AAVs and a missile battery. Is he going to mortar? He is, and it's good. So it's just a case of shooting the least threatening target. Why? This is disabling. These are actually killing you. Got to get that focus fire right. Just so much nothing. Like, these guys are getting caught up on this when they could be here. These guys, again, this is just a lot of disjointed fighting at the moment. Citrell definitely has a completely dominant force. He's just this here could just move in and push this carrier off. At the moment, he's just eating up this easy CU though right now, so he is bleeding Payday pretty badly. Yeah, and it shows. Look at the disparity there. No, Citrell just needs to move in and clean up, really. Got such a massive lead. It would take something seriously drastic to get Payday back in. As it stands, both have full saturation on their resources, but Citrell's just still got his army. He's not suffered the same kind of losses. So it's just a case of him moving in and cleaning up this carrier. The carrier isn't a threat. It has no real firepower. The ALMs are annoying, but that's costing CUs. And, well, yeah, just these guys, they could either be in here or over here finishing this fight. There's no reason to be milling about like this. But again, it seems to be fear that Payday's hiding an army, but as long as you can see the carrier, any further force has got to come out of it. So if you know you're able to dominate the forces around that carrier, you just need to push in. He's got nowhere else to produce units from, so unless he's going to surprise BC, it's just not a problem.
Smoke screen out. Artifact coordinates locked. Reposition. Tracking hostile. Clear out. Hit it.
Oop, update channel.
Enemy railgun
Let's get back into chat.
Railgun engaging enemy units. Bring engines. A railgun has been lost. We have new bearing on hostile target.
Ah, right, so you just thought that marking was a flat bonus, so there was no reason not to spam it. Right, fair enough. Because, yeah, it's...
Armored vehicle destroyed.
yeah, if marking were just a flat bonus where you just add a 26% damage and accuracy bonus, it would just be OP as all hell, and it is losing you that fight currently.
Enemy unit detected.
Let's get this out of the way, we don't need it.
Enemy on sensor.
How are the armor upgrades looking for... Is he still he's only gotten the damage upgrade on his rails.
Railgun destroyed.
He's got armor for his LAVs, but not gotten armor for his core units. So yeah, right now Payday's units are just not durable enough to sustain a fight.
Hit that target with smoke. Armored unit lost.
So yeah, what you need to get used to, Sadral, is, if you haven't already gotten used to doing this, if you're in an engagement like this and you don't want to just invest all your forces, you're worried about a flank, push the flank. There's no reason to sit waiting. This force is the difference between you dominating over here and it just being you have the edge. If these guys were in this fight, it would have been over already. And if there's no reason for them to be in here, then there's every reason for them to be in here. And you'd have a pincer, you'd be able to come in here, sweep both of these resource batches and just clean this up. But again, it doesn't really matter here. You've got such an advantage due to the softness of Payday's rails. There's still no sign of an air switch, and looking at power level, there's no way he's got microwave yet. So yeah, it's just, yeah, essentially this match is over. You're just not, you don't realise it. Which, to be honest, although it might seem like, oh, the game's just over, it's just a matter of, you know, just, it's where you don't realise. It creates openings for your enemy. Your enemy can suddenly pull out a means of dealing with you, whether that be a microwave emitter, whether that be BCs, definitely less so with Soban, BCs being a thing, an air switch, because again there's very little, even no AA cover. So right now, if you were to suddenly pull strike fighters, or if Payday were suddenly to pull strike fighters, he would be able to do a fair amount of damage, very little risk. Possibly enough to even get you to pull back. At the very least, he'd be able to snipe off that artillery and some railguns before you being countered. Fortunately, your enemy is just desperately trying to get enough railguns on the ground to be able to threaten you, but he's just feeding into you at the moment. So but this is the thing, like, you're fearing something that can't exist. If someone doesn't have the force to actually engage you head on in that kind of battle, it's, and that's the other thing, is you can't just be afraid of magical enemies and unknowns. You have to be willing to take the risks. And fearing your opponent is possibly the biggest benefit you can provide them. But yeah, just too much fear. Too much idle force. There is no justifying this, and you've still got one back home anyway. So yeah, this force has no right being here. 2 ALMs, 1 armoured assault renders this completely redundant. It's just excessive, and merely buys your enemy more time. There is a battle cruiser, but it's Sobani, and they are incredibly weak to ALMs. So yeah. Tip concerning Soban battle cruisers: try and keep them at longer ranges. They actually have better accuracy at long range. So if you can keep them in your backlines providing fire support, they'll at least do reliable damage output, though still not particularly impressive damage. From testing, a battle cruiser has about the same DPM as a railgun, well, less than a railgun, but in the same sort of region. I think what the Soban railguns do about 6,000 damage a minute, and a Soban battle cruiser somewhere in the region of 4,500, closer to 5,000, I believe. But again, it's terribly unimpressive. Yeah, there's really no, like, at this point, close the noose, coming from this flank, lots of idle. At this point it's just a case, press F2 and focus fire carrier, win. Again, it's just, may seem terribly inelegant where you've done all these carefully positioned, set up on ridge lines, but just getting them in the fight. It's nice, 50% bonus damage, but if they're not firing, as these guys are on the wrong side of the stew, yeah, firing for normal damage is much better than not firing at all while hoping for 50%. And as silly as it may seem, because this stuff is just classed as outright line of sight blocking, although you can clearly see it still blocks, I'm afraid. As weird as it is, it's just the way the map is designed. Meanwhile, poor battlecruiser, one ALM is rendering it essentially ineffective. It looks like it's gotten to at least enough range where it can actually score hits though, which is nice. Rip. Yeah, at this point it's just a case of pressing that F2, attack order on that carrier, get it over with. Let's speed up. Shenanigans! So yeah, it's all well and good being prepared for a flanking attack, but as Soban particularly, you have ALMs which are a handy delaying measure. So with an AAV is going to prevent any kind of LAV backstabs being immediately damaging. But it's also a case that you seem to be too happy to idle units on the basis they're on good terrain. And the problem with that is that they may be on wonderful terrain and potentially they could do a lot of damage. If they're not firing, it's less than in every other alternative of them being in position to fire, even if they're in bad terrain. Getting shots off is always better than not. So, yeah, I think for you, Satrell, and Payday by extension, get those extra salvages out and on your expansion first, and then see about adding in the support cruiser, unless, like you see, at the very least you want 2 extra just to get those the CU income. It's always going to be worth it, because it is, I believe, a 45-second build time on the support cruiser, so let's have a look-see here. Again, similar incomes, although Satrell clearly having the lead in all aspects, simply because Payday stopped getting income at the end. There wasn't a lot of economic harass otherwise. But then, here's where it was. From the get-go, Satrell, you had such a massive lead in unit kills that really, by the mid-game there, it was just a case of you going in for the kill. You've got to get a feel for when you have the advantage and when you have a serious advantage, and when you're evaporating enemy railguns, you need to just go in there and clear up. There's no reason to draw it out. You just created opportunities for Payday to come back, which is the last thing you want against a skilled player, or more skilled player I should say. Payday's still relatively good, he just got into a couple of bad situations and didn't armour up those railguns or AAVs, which really cost him when the fighting really started in earnest. So, so from there, let's have a look at Sejun versus Madman, who I have not heard of before. So I think I've played a game or two against Sejun. Madman is completely unknown to me, so if it's a known player under a different alias, that's possible, but otherwise he is someone who plays in a time zone I have never run across. So we are in Kalash Teeth with Sejun in the south in his, we'll call that, would it be? No, not emerald. Sapphire blue, there we go. Carrier. And he will be up against Madman in this dark blue and red. Madman going for the early RUs, so he could be going for a AAV rush there. Meanwhile, Sejun getting his skim attack. He is focused on CUs and now on getting RUs. So what his best bet is going to be early assault ships, which will be to cope with the AAV opener that looks like it's going to be coming out. Madman really needs to quick drop these RUs so that he can get the extra 5 he needs for AAV, but he's still, he's going to have the RUs soon anyway, so it's not too big of a hit, but he could have them sooner if he just quick dropped. Meanwhile, that's worrying. Is Sejun investing in skimmers? He's getting 3, 4, 5. Oh dear. You need these RUs in now and assault ship tech as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Madman has not spent any RUs yet, so there's no AAV tech yet. Must be a new player, still getting used to it. So, what do you mean obnoxious blue? You call that obnoxious blue? It's actually quite a nice look. To be honest, I'd call it more of an ocean blue. Looks very nice. It's almost as though there's an oasis in this salty desert of ours. And we've got a bit of a firefight kicking off. Madman going for a turret drop, but 5 skimmers would be able to take that out before it's a risk. Madman's panicked a bit and is moving out his carrier, but he has got a support cruiser there. As long as he moves it back, which he is, it shouldn't disrupt his eco too much. Needs to power the guns though, not range. Meanwhile, that turret kicks in. As long it's got high ground and it's not being focused fire quite right, so it may be just enough to. It's going to be close though. No, as long as those skimmers stay on it, they they take it. Again, although it took I think 4 skimmers out, it's simply not able to keep up as long as there's at least the 4 there and the focus fire is good. The high ground gave it a little bit more punch, but still not enough to win that fight. Again, for Madman, he just needs to get that power into the turret network. Staying close, the missile will really clear this up. Meanwhile, just the PDs on their own are just not doing any damage. They're just so inaccurate at this level. Assault ship's good. Again, it's just a case of Madman is sat on quite a substantial float. He could be looking to go air, or he may be. Has he got any tech at all? No, so he can't be going for cruisers because he hasn't teched. I'm guessing it's just where he's panicked and he's lost track of his economy altogether. And I presume there's a couple of LAVs there to clean up these skimmers. And it is quite possible he's... No. Turret cooldown is done. He's not rushing out another one of those. No armor upgrades on these assault ships yet. Yeah, as you can see, one of the big differences you'll see with newer players, their builds are very disjointed. There'll usually be some substantial floats and they panic much more quickly. So as you can see here, Madman, every time something happens, he's moving his carrier to it. He's not necessarily allocating his power correctly. I mean, power reserve 1 and getting turret network up would make a huge difference here and would actually allow him to threaten and scare off these somewhat. But in the meantime, he's just suffering a lot of damage. Against these 0 armor... Oh, no. Armor 1 is up, but that's still not going to be enough to keep these assault ships alive against turrets for very long. There is AAV tech up now, and AAVs are coming out. Oh, also no, the extra armor on this is actually from the veterancy, and far from being enough to keep these alive with the turret there. As far as what Sejun could be better, just the biggest thing he could have done would be, before going all in on this assault here, would have been to get 2 to 4 salvages onto this wreck immediately. Taking advantage of the 2 production queues for salvages off the bat would have allowed him to get a much better economy and better sustain. In the meantime, because Madman has expanded, although he lost pretty much all of the salvages on his opener, he still has some income here. He does need to shift back over so he can optimize the mining there, but in the meantime he's now got armored assaults, which are enough to keep the sand skimmers off, and until armor comes down for these assault ships, which is now, the AAVs are a bit of a threat there. Are we seeing any other tech from Madman? No, he's spent through all of his CUs on turrets and LAVs, and a bit onto these, which, that's some strange behaviour though. Yeah, the AAV shut down that pickup, and Sejun backing off for now with the assault ship. He's rallying them up, so yeah. So for Madman, he's got a lot of idle, yeah, so he set up a waypoint for military units and doesn't realise he can have a waypoint for workers. So any waypoint which is on a resource deposit or on a wreck will automatically cause salvagers and base runners to go to that position. In the score screen, add Madman. I will do and see if I can get hold of him. But meanwhile, seem to have stabilised. Another wave of assault ships. No reason for them to come around here, but yep, he redirects and decides not to. Yeah, there's no real benefit to coming around here. There is the concept maybe there's a 3rd expansion. You want to check that. Also, yeah, there being a turret poster and the AAVs actually makes an assault ship push into here very difficult. It's also a base runner, so it's quite possible Madman would just get another turret down. Still. That's not quite. We'll come back to that in a bit. In the meantime, AAVs versus assault ships, which assault ships should always win, especially without the armor. Yeah, the assault ships higher damage per shot, 24 damage versus 12 even with veterancy, so 11 normally. Intercepts coming in. Yeah, that's going to be a dead support cruiser, so that's going to really hamper Madman's economy. And there is no AA to counter that currently, although, where has that damage come from then? Yes, really, where has all that damage come from? That is most peculiar. That is a big chunk of health missing, and I do not see where that could have come from. Let's see. Again, Sejun sat on a massive float, so he could look at switching into skimmers. Alternatively, he's got full saturation now, so he's not too... No, needs another 2 workers on here to fully saturate. But right now he just wants RUs really. But right now I'd say a skimmer switch. So you would tech raiding, which takes 50 seconds. You'd then begin producing skimmers from both your PCs. The moment raiding finishes, you do armor 1, keep producing skimmers, and then by the time that's the armor 1 finishes, you should have 10 skimmers, and then I'd usually follow that up with damage, which takes 30 seconds. Gives you a healthy skimmer force with enough upgrades to really be relevant. I mean, is it possible a single LAV doing that much damage that quickly? What to say? But yeah, right now it's Madman's at such a disadvantage. He doesn't have the tech to really handle the assault ships right now. He does have turrets which are keeping him safe in the back, but In the meantime, he's lost so much of his economy to the interceptors. And although, because of the repairs, he's managing to keep these AAVs alive and keep them, keep the assault ships under control. Missile battery comes out, which is going to be a serious threat. Does he realise he has a... Yes, he does realise he has a missile barrage, or the mortar ability, and put some extra damage on, but still not enough. And the AoE really coming through here. The stacked AoEs have managed to just put so much damage on. And still... no. That said, these interceptors are going to be taking AA hits and are going to get devastated. Bam, bam. All three gone to a missile battery and a support cruiser. But in the meantime, what armor level are these now? Armor level 2. And it shows AV's just really not doing much damage at all. It's just a bit of a meat grind here. Behind that, Sejun is just capping. He's got full saturation. It's just a case of Sejun investing his... being greedy, though. He has teched all the way up to Siege in the meantime. Rails could have done the job. But yeah, I suppose he feels that Madman's dug in. He doesn't like the idea of going in against that turret, and just wants to bomb them out. So I mean, it's fair call. So I'm suspecting this is going to get bombarded, and that's going to leave Madman with very few options. And this is the other thing, is just... So yeah, as I've mentioned before, essentially the siege cruiser comes in, it only fires, I believe, 2 rounds per... Well, it's separating them quite... But you'll see it's constant barrage. So it's firing regularly as opposed to the sort of much stronger, larger bombards of the artillery cruiser. The other thing is when you actually give it a bombard order, it just spews, I believe, 8 to 12 rounds. Really need to observe it and get a better idea, but as you can see, it's just constantly pit, pit, pit. And we have another one. I'd say that's close to 20 rounds there. But as you can see, it just spits the whole thing out and then gets back to business as usual, which gives it a lot of mobility. But yeah, it's over now. The siege breaks Madman's quite fragile defense, and it is well and truly over. He has finally teched rails, but I do think it's far too late for that. That I'm presuming that is... no, just more armoured assaults coming out. But at this point, there's no way rails would be able to have any impact. They'd come out, the assault ships would focus them down, and they'd be dead. Recommendations: Sejun gained a very early lead. I think with the assault ships, once you hit critical mass, rather than getting into a stalemate with AAVs, you're better off picking out the targets you want to kill. Just push past the AAVs, do the damage, which in those numbers they really do. Don't get too caught up on the carrier and just make everything else dead. Hit the resource lines and just, excuse me, cripple it. And it just leaves your opponent with no options. There's no reason to get embroiled in that kind of meat grinder here. You just take advantage of the assault ship's health pool and push past. Hit the vital targets, and then usually you can pull away with a couple of units. Quick warning as far as siege cruisers. When you give them an attack order, they move into optimal range for their point defense guns, which are awful. So don't do that. Never do that. It's not worth it. Sit back, launch your barrages and just end it. Something to keep in mind. Siege cruiser damage 100 as opposed to the 125 of the Khan one. So keep that in mind. Sejun definitely took that tidily. Never really a threat. And Madman clearly quite new. His build order, well, his resource option to get those RUs first, if he'd followed that straight into AAV rush, could have been very scary for Sejun. But again, clearly a newer player, and I'll have to see about getting him added on friends if possible. Today you learned... So we'll see if we get any response from Madman on that one. But the resource difference, as you can see, after the initial push, after the interceptors came into it, it was really just a case of Sejun getting in there and really tearing what little Madman had left. The lead was substantial, and it did feel like Madman didn't really know what to do against that kind of aggression. And on Clash Teeth it is all about aggression. Yeah, it's quite frustrating, and should give you some indication of how much I used to use Galcian, the fact that I know that. But, you know, it's got little useless point defense guns, and it prioritizes them over everything else for some reason. So, let's head into our next one, which is another match from Satrell. I know jumble of letters guy, but I have no idea where I would even begin pronouncing his name. For now, we shall call him YHG. Indeed, YHG. Y. Now, here we are on Galcian territories. We have Satrell in his sky blue carrier, well, sky blue and white Sobane carrier. And in the north, we have YHG in his white and red coalition carrier. Very peculiar, this. So that mention about the landing pads is only the case for Soban, who... Yeah, okay. Anyone at BVI is able to clarify why that weirdness is the case. I suppose it does help it make it more readable, but then Khan is completely unreadable on an air switch, so... I don't know.
Arming logistics modules.
See, as long as you learn from a match, Satrell, as long as you learn from it, it's a good match. Yeah, okay, you realised it'd be a little bit too soon. Again, I still prefer getting at least the 2 extra salvages on here for the CU income before doing this, but... I mean, I suppose you're getting it right off the bat, because you're recycling the base runner. Meanwhile, YHG is doing the same thing. This is a very popular build order. I blame Dreamlands. I'm sure that Dreamlands is the one who has taught everyone this. You mind confirming there, Satrell, is this a build order you picked up from Dreamlands? It's got to be.
Rally point designated. Move out.
So in the meantime, we settle into just the ecos building up. Satrell is definitely ahead here. He's done a smart, fast mover economic open by the looks of things. And otherwise their resources are pretty much exactly the same, so it's just Satrell playing it better, being a little bit more on ball. AV's up for Satrell, and...
Salvager online.
can't, like, considering the resources are exactly the same, I'm pretty sure the tech is being done, it just hasn't finished yet. What are you producing?
Armored assault online.
What is going on there? YHG.
Assault in service.
Why?
Proceed to rally point. Construction units depleted. New fabrication facilities now operational.
So no, we've got Citrell, who is set up here with AAVs and additional production, so he now has 2 queues to work with. So yeah, he's going to happily expand, get this going, and this positioning is perfect because it's got the shortest run there. YHG is going for a similar setup as well, so no, that's perfectly good. See, when you're running with just the one support cruiser, so you're trying to maximize the amount of income you have while minimizing the pop cost. These guys are taking up 8 pop each, which is massive. So doing this is actually very efficient off the bat and allows you to maximize your field presence. He's got a turret there, and he has it. He could just take that artifact and run. It's possible he doesn't want to do it yet because he's not ready. AAV tech is done for YHG, as you can see here. Must have just been a little late. It's possible that I checked his resources at the time he'd clicked it, whereas Citrell was well ahead on getting it teched. Citrell getting the early AA. I know I'd rather have gotten air, but as you've mentioned already, Citrell, you weren't too keen on air at this point, so. Special ending. You both drive off into the sunset together, deciding that peace is the way forwards. I'm guessing that's what you mean. So yeah, both getting, like, Dreamlands has got to have given these guys their build order, because they're pretty much just building in the exact same way. No scouting, no harass. Both have built 2 AAVs for defense. Does that mean we're going to see a missile ship from YHG? It's quite possible. You never know. YHG's still got a base runner there, looking at the artifacts, just deciding whether there's anything to do with them. He's got a turret there to keep him company, so he feels nice and safe and secure. He's got 2 turrets here. See how safe and secure is this team? This, thinking about Sajet team, this is very Sajet. They're trying to keep everything safe and secure while they look over the artifact and consider its value. You know, these Sajet, so careful. Meanwhile, that is a lot of that is a lot of Armor 2 AAVs. Do we have a data play coming? I should probably explain. There is a player by the name of Data in our community, and his whole shtick is he gets a blow of about 8 AAVs, gets armor 3, and then basically face rolls his enemy's eco. And if they aren't ready for it, he will eat all their eco, and from there just win the game. In the meantime, we see what... Is that 3 turrets now? Two anti-ground turrets and an AA turret, and that is straight up pushing this off. And oof, that said, good mortar round. So both those turrets go down. That's 500 CU lost for 1 AAV in trade. The AAV blob is, however, coming.
Enemy contact on sensors. Enemy contact on the board.
But alas, they can't save the base runner.
Enemy armor.
That AA turret is still up though, so I'm wondering whether that plays into things. Meanwhile, yes, this very aggressive... Because what's the armor? Armor 1 here, and as you can see, because they've got that maxed armor now, they've got a bonus 300 HP. That means it takes an additional 2 hits for those railguns to kill. which is substantial. And they're doing a hell of a lot of damage to those rails. But this back line... the trades is still good. Need to finish off that one. See, this is the problem when you're dealing with AAVs with this much armor before, I presume, yeah, before the damage upgrade on Soban rails. They just don't pack the punch to be really killing. And the fact that it requires another full cycle of their railgun to kill. Very problematic. But they will clean up, and I would expect following that Cetrala is going to want to grab armor level 2, which will then reduce the effectiveness of these AAVs drastically. But in the meantime, YHG going for another wave of AAVs by the looks of things. Has he teched anything else? No, he hasn't teched rails, he hasn't teched air. It's possible he's going for cruisers, but it looks like in the meantime he wants to face roll with AAVs. He is determined. But I do feel Cetrala is quite prepared. He now has the damage upgrade. He's now got 9 armor, which, again, substantially... essentially it now halves their damage output and packs an extra 100 health on these railguns, making them substantially tankier. So this unit composition from YHG is awful right now. He really needs to bring something in to do the damage, whether it's air, whether it's rails of his own. Although I would expect in a rail war he would lose badly. In the meantime, I think Cetral's panicked because he's getting a ping here, and he's going to come over and just find an AA turret, which I suspect he'll just shoot.
AA turret spotted.
Yep, there we go, and down that goes. Yeah, this kind of shenanigans I blame purely on Data. He made it a thing for quite a while, and killed a lot of unsuspecting players with walls of AAVs chewing through their economies. And if you, as you saw there with that fight next to the carrier, if Cetral didn't have so many railguns, that wall of AAVs were just kept rolling and just killing rails as they were produced, and then slaughtering the economy. 1 second. Yeah, okay. YHG is powering the carrier, so his plan is to power the carrier, to get cruise missiles, and back it with a wall of AAVs. That's his whole game plan here. He just wants as much ablative health for his carrier as possible, and he is just looking to get up in his opponent's face. So how that's actually gonna do against this many rails, however, I think he may need to revise his build. Yeah, Cetral's got armor 3. That means that these AAVs are doing 1 damage per hit. Nothing. Soban rails, they're not completely filthy. But YHG has the cruise missile already. He has power 5. Oh my. Oh my.
Railgun destroyed. Sensor post down. Artifact recovered.
When AAVs are your favourite unit in the game, the irony is, against any other faction, against Coalition, against Galcian, against Khan, these AAVs would be twice as effective right now, because all of these rails would have 1 less armor. So this one would be dead, this one would be dead, but they're Soban rails, and Soban rails are disgustingly good. So yeah, I'm afraid this AAV play is not going to work today, tomorrow, or ever. Please reconsider your plan in life there, YHG. It can work. Definitely doesn't work against Soban. They like their rails too much, and their rails are too good. Yeah. Oh, there's another wave of marked target, which instead of the AAV dying, gets away. Which I suspect is around about the moment you realised. But yeah, Soban. All the rails for days. A couple of AAVs. A little bit of ALM disruption. And they're good. They're kind of amazing at this point in the game. And even with that cruise missile strike, I'd say you won that pretty handily there, Citrell. So now it's just a matter of you cashing in the advantage you're at. The longer you wait, the more chance he has of putting down those cruise missiles. And really, in this kind of situation, he doesn't actually have the bank for it. So hitting him now, he can't cruise missile you. But the longer you wait, the more opportunity he has to collect enough. And I think 650 is all he needs. 10 more RUs and he'll probably be dropping another cruise missile, which I presume... You know what, let's enjoy this fight in its full cinematic glory. Also, Citrell... See, these guys could be over here. There we go, there we go. Okay. Improvement, it's all good. And the brave YHG AAVs roll forwards to fire completely harmless bullets. And yeah, there's another cruise missile. Where's this one going? Rip. Rip, definitely rip. Dead. But I don't think it matters. I really don't think it matters. I think YHG has just wasted too much. Yeah, and in the meantime, these guys are going to roll in here, kill everything there. So it really comes down to whether YHG can win. Oh no. This is actually risky now. So, and that's a battle cruiser. Surprise battle cruisers. And is that another cruise missile? That's got to be another. Nope, MWE, but doesn't matter because right now it comes down to who can kill a carrier, and it's two battle cruisers. Oh, oh no, that's awful. Yeah. So the two battle cruisers are just going to consume this Soban carrier. Even if he maxed out armor, it wouldn't be enough really. But dead. Ooh, dirty. Yeah, you just sat too long. The moment you won that fight, rather than just sitting there, you just needed to push forwards on top of his carrier. There was no reason to hold your ground. And yeah, in a way, yes, battle cruisers are just big AAVs. The difference being that they go through armor. But as far as range goes, they're pretty much the same for range. But yeah, as far as that, Citrell, you played perfectly fine. You just need to push up. There was no reason to stop. There was no reason to let the coalition carrier to just walk off. And the time you let your opponent have was enough for those battle cruisers to come in and make a difference, as well as buy enough time for another cruise missile to be launched. And yeah, the Soban carrier just doesn't offer anything. There's no reason to invest in it for weapons. The only two systems you should power on a Soban carrier are your armor and your ALMs. But even then, like, there was no need for it. You could have just rolled out more rails, pushed across the map, and killed the carrier. And I think that was really it. You just need to bring all of your rails down on top of his carrier and actually kill it. You did have the opportunity, and that was the reason he ran off in the first place. You just didn't follow through. So yeah, just a bit more aggression, a bit more. You just gave your opponent a little bit too much slack, and he used it to defeat you, I'm afraid. Can't win them all, and there have been times where I have come up against surprise cruise missiles and lost, so the lead was there. Even the combat, like, in every regard you won, except for the fact that he killed your carrier. It's simple as that. So, following that, I believe... Do we have a follow-up match between... It does appear that Sejun and Madman have played a fair little series here. And I'm wondering if it's worth watching that series. So yeah, it's everyone's choice here. So first three people to call out whether they want more of Cetrel's matches, including one against Sejun, which might be the most appropriate follow-up now, or if they'd like to see some more of Sejun and Madman, see how their little series developed, because, like I say, it looks like four matches they played. And then I believe that's 2, which are Sejun versus Cetrel, so... What's the call? First 3 messages to say you've got 3 choices. Oh, no, really 2. We'll keep to 2. Madman and Sejun, or Cetrel versus Sejun. Let's get a couple of call-outs on that. Oh, I know what people would prefer at this point. Cetrel's already proven that he knows what he's doing. He just doesn't have the confidence to follow up. So we definitely want to see a bit more of Sejun and see where he is. No? No, 1 second. That'd probably be why this damn. Yep, the match versus... He needs more and more experience, but it's also nice the idea that I'll be able to say, hey man, like, so I saw some of your gameplay and I cast it here, so if you want to give it a watch and see if you pick anything up from that. So, you know, there's that to it. But we'll do the Sejun versus Cetrel. It seems opportune. And this, of course, each with their preferred faction, I believe. So it's Soban versus Galcian. And, you know, Sejun definitely knows the builds he wants to be doing. You know, seeing him use the assault ships and interceptors is a good sign. I don't know if... Yeah, I don't think that the siege follow-up really works as well for Galcian. But we'll see. In the meantime, we have Sejun in the south. I think we'll just go with Ocean Blue. Or Oasis Blue, one of the two. Carrier here. And in the north, who has proven that he knows what he's doing. He just doesn't believe in himself. So maybe a few cheers of encouragement might help. We have Cetrel in his sky blue and white Sobani carrier. What am I expecting based on what I've seen? I'm expecting Sejun to open with assault ships, which isn't going to be such a good build on this map. It's quite a large map, long way to go, and being up against Soban, you are almost certainly going to see rails early, which would be a very poor matchup for assault ships. But it does lead into interceptors, so it would really come down to how effective those were when they came out, and how long it took for Cetrel to answer to them. As far as openings, looks like a better opening from Cetrel. Let's have a look at what's on the production tab though. Again, 1? 2, man. But I suppose it works. There's at least the extra bit of income, and then he gets that out as soon as possible. Meantime, Sejun is getting a couple of skimmers. I think that's going to be punished, because I have no doubts that Cetrel is once again going to get a couple of AAVs defensively. And they'll have free reign for a little bit, because this does, of course, set back the assault ship tech. Never a good sign. I would never invest RUs into sand skimmers before getting rails or assault ships. Never. It will cost you the game. Your first RUs always need to go into one of these 2 techs here. Always.
Destination locked in. Salvager construction complete. Core set.
Hostile scanner spotted.
We have visual on the artifact. We must claim Sejuk's legacy. Destination locked in.
So, sorry, I was just reading chat there, catching up on everything. Seems to be, yeah.
Extraction team on route. Feeding you coordinates.
See, Troll getting all the love right now. He may be in red, but you know he's definitely the favourite at the moment.
This is your captain.
Poor Sejun. You know, it's a learning experience.
Defense alert. Support cruiser spotted.
And I do believe, I think with a bit more experience and getting to know the game a little bit better, and when he has the edge, the Troll could start being a real force in the Artifact Cup as well, which would be... As I said though, so the skimmers come in, they're getting delayed by the ALMs. They might be able to snipe one down, but again it's 1100 HP. That is substantially more than the... well, it's 200 more than the Coalition version. Makes them that little bit tankier.
Point verified.
To be honest, no, not really. You've got to understand, Sinistro, that Soban have a much better early and mid game than Coalition do. The reason I say that is I think as it develops, you are going to see Soban players aren't going to be as afraid of an AAV push because they've got Sunder on their carrier. So that means if they tech AAVs right out the gate, and a group of AAVs of similar size comes in, the Soban carrier only needs to hit them, and suddenly the AAVs, their own AAVs, are doing effective damage. And I feel like that opens up a lot more options for countering an AAV push than Coalition has. And if you look at the preference for Strikecraft,
Has been destroyed.
this is good from Satrell. See, he realised he doesn't need to hang about. He's got his AVs in between. No, don't be baited, man. You don't need to go around. He needs to come past you to go and deliver that. You can just go straight on through and do the economic damage. You don't care about one or two artifact pickups. But yeah, meanwhile,
Defense alert.
these skimmers are going to struggle to really get anything done. Although, even worse than that, they're still set to attack on the AAVs. Oh, and I don't think that Sejun has any idea about that. There we go. He's now marked.
Hostile railgun approaching.
Now, there's a couple of railguns, but there's an AAV, so...
A base runner is taking damage.
slowly eating their way through that salvager. Meanwhile, the AAVs are getting ever closer. To be honest, it is a shame. If these AAVs had just rolled straight across the map and not getting too caught up with this base runner, there wouldn't have been the assault ships to threaten them. In the meantime, though, I believe that is no damage. So, was that 4 or 5 skimmers came in here when there was nothing except some ALMs and just did nothing? But yes, it is a case of getting used to the pathing the way it prefers it. But really, in every situation, if I saw skimmers off the bat, I would send one AAV to intercept them and disrupt them, and every other AAV at that point would just be streaming down here, and I would probably have one go here, one go here. And immediately you put your enemy in a no-win situation because they need to clean up those AAVs as quickly as possible, but those AAVs are going to different places. And in the case of Khan and Galcian, they've got 0 armor and their salvages and no repairs. So AAVs are going to quite quickly clean up. Meanwhile, as I expected, Sejun is now pulling interceptors. He's getting a full wing of 3. Once they come out, that's going to be a very real problem for Satrell here. But the question is, there's no way for me to really check if that's gonna cost you a big time there. 3 marks is that? 3 marks. Oof. Oof, 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 oof. Yeah. As good as mark target is, it is diminishing returns. The more you use it, the less effective it is. Less is more, my friend. Less is more. However, because we are Soban, we have more than one wave of rails, and yeah.
Fighter on deck. Launch it.
Now this is what it's going to really come down to. How much can these interceptors get done?
Salvage remaining. Set charges right there. Base run ready.
Defense alert. Enemy armor inbound.
Ooh, was that a complete whiff? No, no, there was 2 hits in there, 2 hits.
Set. Armored ship online.
But as you can see,
Defense alert.
interceptors are actually quite low accuracy. They can be quite unreliable with their damage output, but the more units that are blobbed up in one place, the more effective they are. Which is why they're really good for hitting salvager lines and support cruisers. In the meantime, Sir Jun's got his side of the map quite secure now.
Black construction.
No harassment, he's got full saturation.
Awaiting order.
But yeah, losing 3 salvagers there? 3, or is it 2? Just the 2.
Salvager online. Rally position marked.
Starts to help Sir Jun eke out an advantage. What are the floats looking like?
Interceptor.
Both quite low, which is a good sign. And again, Citral, you just sat on too much force here. I know you're worried about the air at the moment, but at the very least, get these AAVs moving out. I feel like
Interceptor.
you want to keep 1 or 2 AAVs back home. They're your defensive ones. They're the ones you come back to deal with small threats back at home.
Containment verified. Secured all costs.
Then you've got your rail blob, which right now you've got 6.
Destination. Armored ship.
So at the very least, you could have 2 AAVs
Hostile
off on a flank,
approaching.
causing damage, drawing off Sir Jun's. Oh, excuse me. No, got really.
Destination
Mm.
locked in.
Just, yeah, my apologies.
Bring up. Armored ship ready advancing.
Yep, seem to be okay now.
Armored ship.
In the meantime, those 2 AAVs can be giving you some value in pulling Sir Jun's forces from one side to the other, in just generating threat on the flanks. Also, as you've got to keep in mind, as Soban, you've already got a defensive fence anyway. You've got a delaying measure.
Scanner spotted.
6 interceptors. This is getting kind of scary now. There is, however, a missile battery there.
Defense alert. Interceptor
Does 1 hit,
inbound.
does 2 hits, which is a kill.
Defense alert. Interceptor lost.
There is more AA up now, so again, really bad situation to be in. That's going to be a 3rd interceptor lost as well. So yep, very poor. Yeah, so lost 3 interceptors on that, and I think did very little damage. So how many batteries is that now? So there's 3 batteries. I'm going to presume there still isn't AA on the support cruisers, but it is always a possibility. But yeah, this I fear is becoming a habit though, Citral. If you still do this, don't. Once you've got this defensive wall up with the ALMs, there's no reason for you to hang about. You will start getting your presence out on the map.
Capacity upgraded.
You're just a little bit too confined. You've got this really strong force. Not that Sir Jun's much better here.
Armored ship.
Hmm.
Get us moving.
I will say this much. I expect that A-Game would approve of this kind of assault ship blob, but he would want armor 3. So, Sir Jun, if you are watching, if you are going to run the assault ships in these kind of numbers, grab the maxed armor. It does make them substantially tankier, and it really opens up for them to
A base runner.
get in range and do their job. I feel like that's a missed opportunity. At least picking that up would have been worth it. I don't think he's realised he didn't quite grab it though.
Course map.
Where are we tech-wise here?
Course set.
Into siege. One second. One second.
Cruiser rendering complete.
Yeah, there is a missile battery hiding in the middle there, so yeah, that's good.
Hostile forces detected. Be vigilant.
Hmm.
Hostile railgun inbound.
Advance and prosecute.
Salvager
I-
is in contact. Armored craft taking
Don't
fire.
see that Sir Jun has much choice but to push in here, because otherwise he loses this expansion.
Course set.
But will it
To position.
add up to anything is... No!
Forces are extracting an artifact.
The mark target
Advance.
betraying you again, Citral. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, nope, 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 nope.
Round pushing our gas. Monitor
Oh, that's just... Oh no, it's a troll. Yeah, if you didn't realise that the marked target was doing you in, you did now. Oof. That's painful. That is very painful.
advance. Engage on sight.
Ow.
EMP on target. Position.
He is doing the right thing though. He is trying to push in. He has, however, lost the AA at this point, so if those intercepts come in, that's going to be bad as well. Yeah.
Command verified. Target location marked.
Power through perseverance, I suppose. But yeah, oof, losing the majority of your damage output on the railguns there was what lost you that fight. The irony being, if you had done nothing, your rails would have just done the job. Hard to say how much of an impact the siege would have ended up having, but oof, exposed siege gets punished. In the meantime, those intercepts, however, are going to come in and punish the rails. Yeah, and there's no threats to them right there, so this is turning into quite an ugly scattered engagement.
Forces have secured an artifact.
The EMP is off though. I've got to say, with Galcian, the EMP is far less useful simply due to the fact that it doesn't get increased range with the range upgrade. And you don't want to get close with the Galcian siege cruiser. It does allow you to much better hold a target down and then bombard, but with the speed that the Galcian siege cruiser drops its damage, I don't really think it matters. But something horrifying to keep in mind. Prior to the armor upgrades, so let's say these were rolling around with armor 1, it would take 3 less impacts from bombard to kill a railgun. So, and that used to be the norm. That was the way that it worked. So you can imagine, once upon a time, 1 or 2 siege cruisers would cause armies to just disappear. So I still maintain the health upgrades being put into the armor was just such a good change. This brave missile battery has driven up to the this siege cruiser to say, "Oi, mate, don't you dare." He doesn't have any ability to do anything, but he's making his presence known. Anyway, I'll stop being distracted by silly things. In the meantime, this has turned into quite the fight. And although Citrolla's winning it, his carrier is taking a very serious beating, and he doesn't have the means to repair it right now. Just no, pull back, run away, don't do it. You need to live. You are so important to Sejun's line right now. You need to not die. Probably the biggest problem I have with this mix of assault ships and siege. Carrier armor is a serious problem. If... Oh, there goes the economy, I'm afraid. Yes, so assault ships and Galcian siege. Although they don't have the same sort of role crossover that the Khan siege does with assault ships. Due to that 100 damage, if Citroll just powers armor, his carrier becomes invincible. He's not even a threat here. That said, right now he's not, and so those siege cruisers are really starting to pick into the carrier. They're also preventing him from maintaining his ALM network. Resource-wise though, Sejun definitely has the edge, but Citroll has more than enough to keep rolling out some units. But he is being punished.
We have visual on the artifact. Fire must must claim Sejuke's legacy.
You've got to use this terrain better. Just being a little bit further back and you'd be safe. There's no reason to be taking this damage, Sejun. No reason to be taking that damage. But, it's still paying off.
Siege cruiser barrage capabilities online.
Salvage taking
Ah, right, and there it is, the range upgrade. Which, to be honest, I think he should have grabbed before the EMP. Or at least instead of.
armor craft under attack. Defensive
Another microwave emitter, which, again, clawing away at Sejun's economy. Just about keeps his salvagers alive. But again, just the attrition that Sejun is suffering at the hands of the ALMs and rails. That comboed with his economy being torn up by the microwave emitters is really slowly killing him. These siege cruisers do not have enough health for this. One does not simply face tank with siege cruisers. He's still getting away with it, because they still regen, and it's not exactly poor regen either. Good God.
Research concluded.
I think at this point, Cetrel, that RU float, I would transition into air for the sake of being able to effectively spend that RU float. Just for the sake of being able to spend that RU float, really.
armor craft taking fire.
And again, the amount of air to just make the most of your CUs. Right now, yeah, the problem is he's spamming down too many ALMs. They're getting eaten by the siege, and so they're not being effective. And it's preventing him building more cost-effective units for his bank.
Armored ship online.
Defense alert. Cruiser has been engaged.
And right now that damage is really piling in, although he has started powering the armor, which has significantly reduced the damage he's taking, but it's still piling on. Come on, Cetrel, you got to see that this is too dangerous. You can't just stay in here. Just slowly eating away at you with these siege cruisers.
Target set. Missile ready to adjust. Armored ship.
I think. No, there it is, the 100 armor. Now he's not taking damage from that. He's just suddenly taking.
Defense alert.
Oh,
Cruiser taking fire.
oh, ho, 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 ho.
Siege cruiser lost.
No. Oh, poor Sejun.
Armor craft
Is that?
has been lost. Armor
Is it?
craft
Yeah.
under attack.
Oh, ho, ho. Yeah, the sudden shunt into armor shuts down the damage from the siege. Sejun, still thinking he can take it, pushes forward rather than pulling back, and loses the entirety of that siege unit. And at this point, he seriously needs to change up his composition.
Craft detected.
He either needs to get into bombers or rails, and from what I've seen with bombers doing damage carriers, you really want the rail guns. Oh, Cetrel just caps out though.
Will be preserved in the Litanies.
Oh. No. Game was already over. But that was so close there. If the troll hadn't shunted into armor, that would have been GG. Damn. Yeah, literally, that was it. Sejun, through sheer attrition from the siege cruisers, had put Cetrel into a very dangerous position. And it is quite a weak composition. Going with the assault ships, air and artillery, well, siege. I don't feel like the assault ships lend enough into the late game. They do absorb a hell of a lot of damage though, and I suppose that is what allowed the siege cruisers to eke out so much damage. But as you saw, like, the siege just isn't effective for killing the coalition and Soban carriers, simply because of that armor shunt. But well, you may feel bad, Cetrel, but again, your play is solid. the problem is you're treating the Soban carrier as though it has a real presence and powering systems which don't really offer that much. But very good use of the MWE, very well timed shunt, because although it may not have, you may feel it was late, it ended up baiting Sejun into a very bad play. He thought he could win. He thought all he had to do was chase your carrier. It was an easy kill. You just need to get another bombard on you or something. But the actual fact of the matter is you had shunted power and he was doing no damage. If you hadn't have shunted when you did, you would have already been dead. By the time the MWE went down, you would have almost certainly have lost your carrier. But again, Sejun didn't know that, and it ended up being a perfect bait instead. The rails did good work pretty much all game, although again in that meat grinder they just didn't work well. They were taking a lot of damage from the assault ships, they were getting picked apart by the siege cruisers, so it was a poor position for them to be in. But again, they still did a lot of damage and kept Sejun pinned in while you shifted over and you picked up those artifacts to win. Could Sejun have made better use of his air force? Possibly, but at that point he didn't have one, and he was really dedicated to, one, rebuilding his economy, which you knocked out a substantial portion of, and keeping those siege cruisers rolling. His best bet would have been to see about teching into rails, just so that you had a bit more ranged pressure, but yeah, because at the end of the day, his only real path to victory was killing your carrier. So, oh, good grief. My apologies, everyone. Why I have an alarm set for this day, I have no idea. Let me just go and check that. Make sure there's no more alarms set for today, because otherwise that's going to be painful for everyone. Why the hell is there an alarm set for today, ever? Ever. It's Sunday. Why do I hate myself? Just, meh. So yes, let's have a look here. I don't know, problem, man. The whole point in what I do is so that people can learn. It's why I keep posting stats and information on DOK in Discord, is to spread the information as much as I can and give people a much better understanding of the game. Because there's nothing more frustrating than going into a match and being all like, how do I answer this? What would have been the counter? What proactive play could I have made that would have made a difference? And whether you realised it or not, you did the right thing by powering your carrier. And there's a lot of people who wouldn't have realised. They would just lost their carrier and been all like, it was unwinnable, siege is OP, I quit the game. And, you know, I've seen it enough times over the course of the past year to know that's sometimes how people respond. But you made a good play, and it paid off, as it should have. You earned that. So, well played. But on the other hand, Sejun, well played as well, man. Surprisingly good use of your forces. A little bit better placement with the siege, and I think while EMP is good for cruisers, I think that range is most important. They can stay safe distances and do the. They just from the EMP anywhere near as much. It's not as useful in as many situations. They're doing constant damage anyway, so they don't need the extra ability to do. Yeah, I think that on the EMP is just terrible. There's just no point. He has said that it's questionable on Calm, but I still maintain it works really well with their sort of mid-range style of combat, and gives him a lot more flexibility. And it's an easier, quicker upgrade to get as well. Less expensive than the range upgrade. I think the range upgrade is 500 CUs, 300 RUs at the very least. The EMP is far cheaper, almost half that. So, but again, good game, good game. My apologies to everyone watching if I was a bit distracted by little things every now and then, but I like to break up the commentary. It's very close there at the end. Enough so I didn't even notice the extract. Where you had 3, but didn't see that you were going for those last 2 because of that meat grinder. Another time maybe. Let's see, what are we time-wise? So we've been running for about an hour and a half, so I'd say we've got time for one more replay. And we do actually, I think, yeah. Is it this Shallows one? To be fair, if Sejun has since changed to Knef, that's probably for the best. I think it lends much more to his playstyle. Especially if he wants to keep going for Siege. Yeah, we'll end on this second match between Sejun and Cetrel and see how they've improved, shall we? Sejun has also changed colours over to the default Knef, whether intentionally or not. He's decided to change away from that oceanic blue and go into something a bit more deserty. Seems to be. Yeah, it's from Sejun's perspective, so Sejun must have sent it to me. So, here we are on the Shallows, the only map with greenery, and Sejun turns up in desert camo. Who would have thunked it? And in the north. Quickly becoming a favourite amongst the DOK community is Cetrel in his sky blue and white Soban carrier. But yeah, one thing I will say, Cetrel, if you are looking for more late game builds, you're going to want to look to Coalition, simply because their late game's just stronger, their carrier is stronger, their battle cruisers are viable. Meanwhile, we have Sejun switching over to Knef, which, considering he doesn't seem to power and really send his carrier to the front, I think it's for the best, because I feel that the Knef carrier actually offers a lot more outside of frontline role, simply due to the fact that it's got mobility support, and if you want it as a second line support, it's got missile. But let's see what we have going on here. Looks like Cetrel focusing on CUs, and then he's gone into RUs. He hasn't got his tech running yet though. There we go, he's just researching AVs now. Meanwhile, Cetrel still setting up his economy, I presume? A couple of sand skimmers. 2 mini sand skimmers. So it's still the same build order he was using before, it's just that he's now doing it under Khan and adding a blast drone. I mean, there is the possibility if you can get in there with a couple of skimmers and the blast drone, quickly clean up the damaged salvages. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. 2 blast drones. So yeah, he's going for the double blast drone opening. He's going to try and snipe the economy. And then he's going to use the skimmers to cover that by the looks of things. No? Because that's the thing. The LAV is going to have scouted this now, so he knows it's coming. Cetrel knows it's coming. Meanwhile, looks like the skimmer's just being used to escort. It's a real shame he decided to go up this path. If he'd gone down here, it would have drawn the LAVs to the other side of the map, making his capture route completely safe. I suspect power to ALMs? Power to ALMs? No? Ooh, that might cost you. Ooh. I think he's missing out on a prime target up here. But I think he just wants to grab the 2 safe kills, which he does. So, still worth it. It may not seem like it's worth it for 2, but it's also preventing them getting any additional CU income here for now, as well as destroying the CUs they were already carrying. So it's still good disruption. I do not like just setting the skims to escort. That was 400 CUs worth of units, which could have been in here assisting those blast drones be effective. And they're just sat on top of a base runner, which had a completely clear route anyway. Now, let's see what the techs are looking like. We have... Ooh, Sejun being properly greedy. He has gone straight to siege cruisers. Pass go. Do not collect 200 siege cruisers. Okay. Meanwhile, we have Strel, who has the AAV. Hard to say at the moment, but very scary situation for him if Sejun keeps going with this path, because that fast siege, swear to God. In the meantime, he's just... Ah, man, this is actually really good. What he's done is he has convinced Satrell that he needs additional AAVs, and that very aggressive. In fact, Sejun is being very greedy, and not economically greedy. He is being tech greedy, and there's already a siege cruiser coming, and these AAVs will be mulched by that siege. Smoke goes down. Is he luring? He is. So he's coming back here. So what's going to happen is the AAV is going to chase, and Satrell, thinking that this is wonderful, I can push in, get the base runner, and hit his economy. This is wonderful. Is instead going to run into a siege cruiser, which is then going to decimate them. I don't think there's any way that he can buy more time for this base run, though. This base runner is definitely going down. It's not even going to get that blast drone out. Something to keep in mind about that: if there is a blast drone in production when the base runner dies, the money is still lost. It is not refunded. So whenever you hit that button, it is not a panic button, which will always go out in your favour. It is wasted resources. If that base runner does not pop out the blast drone, that is 150 CUs, additional CUs down the drain. So yeah, try not to hit that panic button too much. Rails are out, and Satrell. See, this is the thing. This is Satrell's caution is actually paying off in his favour here, because in higher level play you would just say to yourself, well, I can go in, I can get some salvage kills here for free, very least. But it would have lost him the AAVs to that siege. Instead, he'd pulled back, being all like, I'm Satrell, I don't believe in being overly aggressive, I want to have dominant force and win a good engagement, and just sort of win the game that way. Now, if that's... Let's see what... He does have the EMP, he is now powering up, so this could be incredibly bad or incredibly good for Satrell, depending on how this engage goes down, and that is not a good start for him. No, really bad start, because they're in range. If... Ooh, what's blocking the shots? Yeah, there it goes. Pow. And although the siege cruiser is down to half HP, these rails are struggling to get... Well, this remaining rail is struggling to get the... No, there are two. One off to the side here. The weapons jammer is good, but it's not enough. The additional 1,000 HP that siege cruisers have, yes, 1,000 additional HP, is making this a real chore for the rails. The rails will go down, and the armor logistics are not going to be far behind. In the meantime, AAVs doing 1 damage each. They are preventing it from regenerating though, so they will eventually kill it if they live long enough. And also they can... Oh, no, there we go. An additional line of rails comes down and... too late. The overextend is real and Sejun pays for it. But more sieges on the way. Is there more? There is. Well, I'll say this much. Sejun is playing like I used to play. If you go back far enough in the Artifact Cup, this did become one of my things. Because I did not realise that air was an option. So it would be the assault ships to prevent A-Game's skimmer into siege cruisers. And it didn't win me any Artifact Cups, but it sure as hell kept things rolling for a good while. But yeah, at some point, if Sejun wants to stick with this, for one, he needs to finish expanding his economy. Then he needs to look at getting something to kill with. So it's either going to be railguns or into bombers. But he's going to need something to actually be able to kill this carrier. And he should already realise that siege is not the way to kill a carrier. So brave, or brazen, I think. But assault ships moving in on these rails. And with backup support fire, it's paying off, and they're too busy shooting at base runner. They do get the kill, and now I expect they're going to clean up these assault ships quite handily. Yep, good use of Mark there, and the ALM. Yeah, cleans up those. At this point, I would stop producing assault ships. I don't think they add anything. And meanwhile the resources are much better put into siege. However, oh dear, Sejun, no, the overextend, dead. But yes, the other thing that Sejun desperately needs is he's going to need AA cover, and the lack of it is now going to really come through as the strike fighters are going to start chewing through these siege cruisers, which simply can't defend themselves against it. They do have some AA, but it is very short-ranged and is pitiful. For some idea how pitiful, it struggles to kill probes, so... Ah dear. It's like watching how I used to play, like, Artifact Cup 4? 5, maybe? Being shut down by the exact same things. Mast rails and air. Oh, overextend though. Collection Cruiser grabs a kill and Veterancy 1. Extra 200 HP, no, never a bad thing. But again, we see Satrell starting to cap out. Doesn't want to dedicate his forces to an assault and just wants to maintain sufficient map control, using the ALMs to create a fence, keeping his rails nice and safe. What kind of power has he got on those? Power level 3 on the ALMs now, so essentially they have quite impressive vision at this point. So all that Satrell really needs to do is keep them in these rails in position behind the fence. Just pick up anything that comes at him. He's got his own air force now, 9 strike fighters, and right now, as far as I'm concerned, these 4 assault ships are wasted resources, and would be much better invested in looking at his resources. Probably, yeah, this could instead have gone into another siege cruiser, and again, he's still producing them. Seriously, just do not stop it. Yeah, he's just got... He needs to be getting missile ship tech, which he is, and then investing in about 3 missile ships, which would then allow him to shut down the strike fighters. I suspect a lot of this is where he's desperate to have as much force on the map as possible. But again, that's where teching rails would be far more beneficial. It does look like he's going to be able to stop this cap with the 3 interceptors though. This would actually be a good opportunity for the strike fighters if you rally up all the strike fighters together in the back and then try. But in the meantime, because of their speed, although he's got them targeted, they're going to have landed before he gets over there. So he redirects, starts hitting an assault ship. Not really a good target, but it's better than doing nothing, I suppose. And he knows that the ints are on cooldown, so yeah, they're going to be a little while longer. But look at how quickly they refresh. Look at this rearm. And they're ready to go again. They landed as these guys launched. Now, let's compare quickly. So, they take longer to land, and take off for that matter. Oh, come on. Stop. Now, the refresh is still pretty good. It's yeah, so really the problem is how long they take to land and take off that's causing it. Their rearms are still very short. Although it does raise the question whether damage increases the rearm times. Ooh. But in the meantime, it looks like Citral has decided it's time to end this game. If he's not allowed to cap, he's going to just move in. But he is blobbed up awfully. And as I said, those interceptors, they may not be that accurate against ground targets, but when they're blobbed, it doesn't matter. All that damage comes down, all the siege comes down. And Citral's force just been decimated. There's still 3 rails left, but they're not going to last long against those siege cruisers. And once they're gone, let's have a look-see here. So, as long as Citral focuses on these salvagers, he'll be able to easily clean those up. But with that said, the siege is going to do all the damage he needs anyway, killing his own salvager. Oof, almost wipes his entire salvager group himself. Oh, we've got an air war now. But these interceptors are going for the SFs, and yeah. Oh, almost took out another 2 there, but just short. Those land. Is there any sign of? There's a serious lack of AA on Citral's part here as well. In the meantime, been taking out ALMs, but they were positioned a little bit too far in the middle. Didn't go for any of them. Do keep in mind, as far as air units are concerned, they will only attack targets within their target area. Okay, so it doesn't matter what it is. If it's outside that targeted area, they're not going to go for it. Another of Citral's mixed Sobani blobs. Again, I think the big thing for Citral to learn is better positioning. V-move would definitely help. Giving short-ranged moves helps spread out your units. So just telling them to move just next to where they are, get them to move into a sort of formation pattern. But the AA is working. It is bringing down those interceptors in the meantime. And the rails are just tearing through the siege. So I think that might be it. I think just through sheer economic advantage, through sheer numbers, yeah, so that's over. The siege goes down and Sejun taps out. So if we look at the stats at the end though, let's see what we've got here. So yeah, Citral having this significant economic lead, and then when we look at combat though, like again, it's quite close there. Although you've got to keep in mind that would be at least 5-6 siege cruisers in there, whereas all of this is just smaller units, so strike fighters, rails, AABs. But again, much closer there. I think for Sejun, he needs to seriously look at one is his air micro. He needs to look at better ways of managing and using his interceptor groups, both in how he attacks or how he launches smaller scale attacks really. I think one of the most important things to learn with interceptors, due to their relatively fragile nature, is how to, like, exactly when to give a recall order after they fire their first volley, because you can effectively fire a full volley, pull back, and avoid any real repercussions, any return fire. For Cetrell, I think the big thing is really spacing. His units were just too blobbed, and it allowed for both the interceptors and the siege to really punish his assaults. So, bit of work by both players, but both coming along quite well, and improving. Sejun just needs to branch out a bit more. I think he needs to look at other builds outside of the assault ship build. So really wants to look at more rails. He wants to look at bombers, just other options. It is very easy with Calm to fall into the trap of only going for Knef Siege, because it is so cost effective. Like what it brings to the table is a very tanky, versatile unit which covers a lot of bases, has good health pool, and is very scary. Can be used in some very lazy ways. It's possible with the Knef Siege Cruiser. You set up a battle line elsewhere, you get those kind of meat grinders going on, like, which typically happens with Cetrell, and you just send a siege cruiser around the flank and it just eats their entire economy without really needing any management or nursing at all. It'll just go and kill everything. And it can make it a lot easier managing the rest of the battle, knowing already hitting their flank and causing them something they seriously need to think about, while not needing to really go over there and micro and babysit it. So yeah, but again, some good games there from both players really. Against the troll, sort of coming along, learning the tools, realizing he has the tools, and then not quite using them to the best of his ability, but definitely improving. Big thing, get into using V for your moves, get into splitting up your units a bit more. You control click and controlling just rails, control click and controlling just your AVs, and sort of breaking them up a bit more, spacing them out a bit better. And I think that'll put you in good stead going forwards, and it'll prevent you getting caught out by players who are using their AoEs effectively to counter that. The only way of really putting it is lazy control. So yeah, but I think we'll leave it there for now. I will see about doing another stream next week. So I know I've got a big FFA, but I think adding another hour to the stream for a free-for-all, I'll leave that for another time. But again, save some replays, earmark any good ones you've got and send them my way on Discord, and I'll see about adding them to the pile for another one of these next week. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining me. All 6 of you, I believe, have been here pretty much the entire time, and thank you very much, and